My background in music comes from growing up in São Paulo. I started playing there when I was a teenager in the underground scene, all the punk clubs. I stayed there until my early 20s when I moved to Toronto. And that's really when I started discovering all the Brazilian ensembles that exist here. It really helped me to rediscover these roots that I wasn't even too aware of when I lived in Brazil. I wrote for the 29 Dufferin bus line. This Maracatu group actually was one of the first things I discovered in the area. We used to rehearse at Geary Lane. This area is very interesting because there's so many places that artists and people get together to rehearse or do their work. Sadly, this has been changing a lot in the last few years. My background working in VR definitely came in handy. It was really interesting to compose thinking of AR because to me it was a bit like doing a real life video game soundtrack in a way. The first time I explored the area going up to Eglinton, I noticed that these rolling hills really seemed like waves to me, and I tried to reflect that in the music, having sliding guitars or delay echoes that helped symbolize these waves and the movement that I saw in the natural landscape. I also wanted to bring water sounds to symbolize the water pathways that used to exist in the city, especially in this area. I included a little train sound because there is a giant train track right beside us. I also brought a lot of things back from Brazil in 2022 that I came back excited to use. An example of that is a wooden flute called pífano. Also from the Maracatu spectrum that I really wanted to include just because they were such a big influence on me through my time here in Toronto. There is an alfaia, which is a big wooden bass drum. I tried to make something accessible and something that would feel instinctively familiar in some sense. I feel drums, in a general sense, have that instinctive character to them, especially with a lot of the Latin influences and even just global influences that Toronto has in the different cultures. The Dufferin bus line is definitely one that has a lot of character and a lot of history. A lot of people don't like it. They call it the suffering bus. Personally, I've had a fairly good experience with it. It just feels like it's really one of the core lines around the city, and I was really honored to be able to compose for it.